Hey, it's Emily Williams, the founder of I Heart My Life and your host of the I Heart My Life show. And this is episode 58, What Happens When You Get Yourself in the Room. Now, the room I'm referring to is the room where live events take place. So as you may know, we are hosting I Heart My Life Live in January 2020 in San Diego, California. And I know there's a lot of people who are on the fence, so I wanted to record this episode to share my own experience with live events, how I was able to move past all my fears and insecurities as an introvert to be able to attend live events, to connect with strangers, do my networking thing, and ultimately use live events to grow our business and have more impact. So if you are questioning how live events fit into the scope of your work and how they can help you transform not only your life, but also your business so you make more money, reach more clients, and have more impact, this episode is for you. I'm sharing 7 ways in which live events will transform your business and help you have that greater exposure, greater reach, greater impact that I know that you are craving. So let's go ahead and dive in. Back in 2014, I decided to sign up for a coaching training program. So this program was designed to support me in building my coaching business. And it included 4 live events. So there was one in Miami, one in Sydney, Australia, Paris, as well as Los Angeles. And I remember immediately talking to one of the coaches and telling her that there would be no way that I'd be able to attend the event in Sydney, Australia. It was just too far. The ticket price was too expensive. It just wasn't in my realm of possibility. And I remember her telling me to keep an open mind and that the event wasn't until March, which was about 6 months away. So I had time to pool the money together and make a plan. So I decided to entertain that thought. I decided to start setting an intention that I'd be able to go to Australia. It wasn't necessarily somewhere that had been on my bucket list or that I was super excited to travel to, but I knew the impact that being there would have on my company. So fast forward to, I guess it was probably December when I attended the first event in Miami, I started to see huge shifts in my business and I realized that Sydney actually could happen. So I started to make a plan. I actually reached out to clients who I knew in the area and booked them in for intensives. I also booked a photo shoot. And so I truly did make that event worth my while in many, many ways. I also ended up attending another retreat in Bali on that same trip. So because I had gotten so many results in the program I was a part of, and my business had grown from literally $442 all the way up to 6 figures in 6 months, I was able to invest at the next level. So I actually signed up for another program to work with this same coach and joined her at that retreat in Bali. So I'm sharing that story today because you might be in this place of wondering whether live events are possible for you, or maybe feeling restricted because right now traveling to another country or another state or wherever it may be might feel out of reach. And I want you to really understand that there's nothing that's out of reach for you. And the truth is when that desire is there, the opportunity is there, the money is there, the possibility is there. And your job is to just entertain what you know is that true desire or that thing that you're working towards. And keep an open mind of how it could happen, how it could all be possible. And finally, allow that desire to be your coach. That desire is literally inviting you to reach out to the client that's on your radar, to design an in-person intensive in Sydney or Los Angeles or San Diego or Toronto, to start a new program that's going to help you bring in the money that you desire. All of those things are just ideas on the top of my head, right? You might be thinking of something in particular when I say use your desire as a coach. There might be an inspired idea that comes to mind or someone who you know you could reach out to in order to bring in the money. So on today's episode, I ask you to keep an open mind. I ask you to pay attention to the ways in which I'm sharing this information, the ways in which events are going to transform your life and your business. And the truth is if you are an introvert, if you are somebody who is resistant to meeting other people in person and to being at those live events, I totally get it because I'm the exact same way. So after I attended that event in Sydney and then the retreat in Bali, then we went to Paris a few months later, then we went to LA. It was quite a busy year. And soon after, James started attending events as well. And there was one in particular that he invited me to go to. It was Brendon Burchard's High Performance Academy. And this was an event that I was pretty unfamiliar with. James had been talking about high performance for a while, but I wasn't a huge super fan of Brendon yet. I didn't know much about his work. And so I told James that I would give him one day at the 4-day event. When we got there, though, I quickly realized after that one day that I needed to attend all 4 days because it was that powerful and I was learning so much. And the cool thing about events, which we're going to talk more about on this episode, is that they actually take you to another level just by being in the room. The energy of the speakers, the attendees, the whole atmosphere, it really does transform you from the inside out. So you could go a complete stress ball or somebody who is unhappy, and just stepping into that room starts to transform you from the inside out. And that's truly what happened for me. However, I do know that at one point during the event, I think it might have been on day 2, Brendon invited the entire audience of about 2,000 people to basically hug one another. And so I was sitting there. We were actually in the front row at the time, which I absolutely hate. I don't like to be in the front row. And Brendon instructed everyone to stand up and cross the center line of the room to the opposite side with your arms open and start hugging all of the people that were coming your way. And so, as you can imagine, it was thousands of people coming at one another with their arms open. And I remember one gentleman in particular, bless his heart, he was super sweaty. He was very large, very tall, a bit overweight, and he was coming at me and I had to hug him. And I know this sounds so horrible and so cruel, but in that moment, I just felt engulfed by this person who I didn't know. I experienced his sweat on my clothes, and I was just like, this is too much. I have to get out of here. And so it really started to create this anxiety in me that I had, so much so that I had to leave the room and sit outside for a while on my own. And I'm sharing that with you because I know that there are certain events where you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. There might even be experiences that you don't love that cause you to have to go and sit outside and physically remove yourself from the space. But even with that experience, I still came away from that event feeling so glad that I attended. And I fell in love with Brendon and his work so much so that James and I actually invested in his high-level mastermind, which was $60,000 each. We had no plans to invest in that, but we were so inspired by Brendon, by what he was doing, by what we knew he could help us achieve, that it was a no-brainer for us. And so I want you to really think about you and putting yourself in the game and what it's going to take for you to stop playing small and actually decide that you are going to go, you are going to travel, you are going to invest, you are going to make decisions to put yourself in the room. And also recognize that that's a metaphor for so much more, which is why I wanted to record this episode today. So I have 7 shifts that happen when you put yourself in the room that I'm going to explain to you. I've already described so many of the benefits just in the first few minutes of this episode, but I want to go even deeper. So if you are someone who is on the fence, specifically for our event, I Heart My Life Live, I want to tell you a little bit more about why it's so imperative and urgent that you get yourself in this room. Okay, so for those of you listening who already have your tickets, just keep listening because you're going to learn how to utilize the event so that it works in your favor in an even greater way, ways in which you might have never envisioned. All right, let's go for it. So the first way that this transforms your life is that it transforms your social circle. So for those of you who have started businesses or have moved forward with a dream and you find yourself feeling quite alone in that vision, I want you to listen to what I have to say today. So what happens when we start to transform and we start to do things differently is people don't understand what sort of box or container to put us in anymore. It makes them feel much more safe to know who you are, to know what you're doing, to know what you're all about. And so when you start to change, it literally evokes fear in other people. And so it's less about you and more about other people when they start to, like I said, not understand what you're doing or be unsupportive or question your choices. And it's really important that you start to recognize who in your current camp is supportive and who is not. Because especially when you are starting something new or you're transforming your mindset, you are very impressionable. And it's important that you safeguard your mind. As Robin Sharma says, you don't have the luxury of even one negative thought when you're going through this process. And so if you have people in your life who are spewing harmful thoughts and beliefs on you, or just approaching you with disbelief in your vision, that's going to seep into your subconscious, and that's going to affect you in ways that are going to be detrimental to your success and what it is that you desire. And so it's really imperative that you take stock of who in your life you're spending the most time with. We all know the phrase that we are the 5 people we spend the most time with. So just take a look at who those people are in your life. And I encourage you to look at a normal week. So on a normal week, a normal work week, who are you spending the most time with? Whose energy is really seeping into your energy and who you are? Who is affecting your choices? And for most people who have not yet attended events or invested in their success or been a part of group programs or masterminds or worked with coaches, these communities that they're surrounding themselves by aren't supportive. They're people from high school, people who they've grown up with, family members who haven't yet done this transformational work. And so they're surrounding themselves by ordinary people. And I don't mean that in a negative way by any means, but what I mean is that these aren't people who are looking to do extraordinary things, different things, make a transformation. They don't have a growth-based mindset. And so as you can imagine, surrounding yourself by that type of thinker is not going to encourage big thinking. Which is why on the flip side, when you put yourself in a room of people who are going to the next level, people who are supportive, people who see bigger things for you than you see for yourself, everything starts to shift. So one of our speakers at I Heart My Life Live, David Nagel, he shares the story of investing in his first event. So it was actually a $3,000 Tony Robbins event back in the 90s. He said it was in Ohio. I believe he was in Chicago at the time. So he not only had to buy the $3,000 ticket, he had to invest in the travel and the hotel and the food and all of that. And he described standing in his kitchen talking to his wife about wanting to attend this event. And she was very supportive and was encouraging him to do so, but neither of them could figure out how to actually find the money to pay for the $3,000 ticket. And he said he was literally standing in the kitchen, looking out the window, scratching his head, wondering how to do this. And he saw his boat sitting in the driveway. And this was a boat he had dreamt about his whole life. He had worked very, very hard to be able to afford this boat. And the idea of selling the boat came to mind when he thought about the ticket. He thought, you know what, there's my ticket right there sitting in the driveway. But then he thought to himself, I don't know anyone who would sell a boat to go to an event. I don't know anyone who would sell something that they worked so hard for in order to change their life. But he knew that the boat was of a lower vibration than what the ticket was. And he knew that the ticket was the thing that was actually going to get him the change that he desired, not the boat. And he also knew that if he invested in the ticket, he could buy himself a much better boat later on if he got his act together and created more money and wealth for himself and his family. And so he made that decision. And he said that when he got to that event, he had never seen so many positive people in one place. In fact, he didn't even know that existed. He didn't know that there were that many positive people in the world because he had never been around that type of group. So I want you to ask yourself, are you surrounding yourself by positive people, or are you surrounding yourself by people who are Debbie Downers, people who are always looking at life as, you know, the glass half empty, people who are suspicious of others, people who don't invest in themselves or their dreams, people who believe that it's important to play it safe and not take a risk? You have to be really honest with yourself and aware of that circle, that social circle that you're surrounding yourself by. And when you put yourself in the room, like an event, like I Heart My Life Live, your social circle will start to expand, will start to grow. And it will include people who are of a growth-based mindset, who believe in you, who encourage you to raise your prices. The truth is, in my life, all of my friends are pretty much new. They're new friends from the past 4 to 5 years because of events I've been a part of, because of masterminds I've participated in, or group programs. These are all people who are in the online space, because now I have so much more in common with them than people who I went to high school with or people who I went to college with. There's nothing wrong with people who were in my life previously, but we don't have as much in common. And to bring David Nagel back into the conversation, in one of his podcast episodes, he talks about the fact that our relationships, they vary. Some are for a reason, some are for a season, and some are for a lifetime. And that's truly okay. I think so often we put so much pressure to have these on ourselves, to have these lifelong friendships and relationships. But actually, a lot of those aren't in service to us or our vision. So I really want you to ask yourself, is your current social circle in service to your vision and your mission in life? And if the answer is no, that doesn't mean that you don't have to go and start calling the group or getting rid of everyone and cutting ties. But what it means is that we want to try and add in some relationships that are in service to the vision. And there may be some people who you no longer speak to because they are actually so detrimental to your success and you're not available for that. You are allowed to make that decision. But I don't want anyone listening to think that you have to be lonely or you're no longer going to have any friends or family because of this decision that you're making. There are plenty of people out there who are like-minded and who are ready and willing and want to be that friend for you and want to support you in growing. Okay? All right. The next thing that happens when you put yourself in the room, number 2, is you change your mindset. So especially at our event, I Heart My Life Live, your mindset will be completely transformed. And I want everyone who is a business owner to really understand how imperative this is. You are not born with an entrepreneur mindset. You were not born with the mindset of someone who runs a business, who builds a team, who is in sales, who sends out a newsletter, who posts videos on social media. We aren't born with those skills. And we also aren't born knowing how to move past the fear that has been instilled in us from ages 0 to 7. Okay. So our parents taught us how to think about success. Our parents taught us how to think about money. Our family taught us what belief system to adopt. And then we're bringing that into our current business, into our current life. And we're expecting us to get results with a mindset that is flawed. So it's like an operating system. You've probably heard me talk about this many times if you've been following the show or if you've been following my work. Your mind is like an operating system. And right now it needs a massive reboot in order for you to get to the next level. And even if you've done mindset work, even if you've been a part of my I Heart Money course or our I Heart My Life monthly program or any of our business accelerators, even if you've done that work before, in order to go to the next level, you have to become a next level thinker. Okay. So that's why this is so important. And that's why it's actually essential for you to attend events regardless of the stage that you're at, regardless of what your goals are, because there's always something to learn and there's always a next level to graduate to. That's why our most successful clients are lifelong learners. They put themselves in the game. They're not afraid to ask questions. They never get too big for their boots, as James says, and decide that they no longer need support. They are forever learners. And there's actually someone who I truly admire. I'm not going to name names today, but she's someone who's worked with Tony Robbins for decades. And I remember as I was kind of rising up in my career, she reached out and she told me how much she admired what I was doing. And she actually said, you know what? I would love to learn from you because I am not of the generation of the online space, the social media generation, the Facebook ads generation. And I would love to learn how you're doing what you're doing and take that into my business. And I was so honored by that because she didn't need to reach out. She works with Tony Robbins, for goodness sakes. She's one of his coaches. But she reached out and she was curious about how we do what we do. She was curious about going to the next level. She recognized that there was a growth edge that she could lean into. And this is what we're talking about here, having that mindset where you know that there are some growth edges. You know there are some upper limits that are stopping you from going to the next level. I do this as well. I work with coaches. I get on trainings. I ask questions. I know that I am not above learning what the next level has in store for me and how to actually get there. And so when you attend events, especially our events, this will support you in your mindset. I also mentioned that sometimes we attend events and we're actually in a negative space and we're going there for some sort of transformation, some sort of awakening. And that's the perfect place to get that experience because just stepping into the room means you're already saying yes to possibility. It means you're already saying yes to the awareness and the knowledge that you know there's something more for you. And that leads me to number 3. When you step into the room, you experience a shift in possibility. So I remember a few years ago, I was on a retreat with some incredible women in the coaching space, and we were talking about our packages and the mastermind that we were hosting that year. And I was talking about the price of the mastermind and sharing what we had planned for our clients. And the ladies looked at me and flat out just said, you need to raise the price of that. And I loved that they told me that. I loved that they were honest with me and that they saw more than what I saw for myself. That's what happens when you surround yourself by big thinkers. The same thing happened when I was first starting I Heart My Life. I got myself into that group program, the one I mentioned that had the 4 live events. And that decision immediately opened my eyes to the possibility of traveling to 4 different cities in 1 year. I don't think I'd ever done that. I'd obviously moved to London, but to travel to the US twice, to Australia, to France, that was a huge deal for me. And it opened my eyes to what was possible. It showed me, you know what? Hey, people do travel. People do fly first class. People do attend events all around the world. People do host intensives in international cities. And if other people are doing it, I can do it too. And so you want to ask yourself, is it time to experience a shift in possibility? Do you need to remind yourself what's possible? So often I share how much James and I have invested in our own personal development. I share the story of being at Brendan Burchard's live event and seeing Robin Sharma speak on stage. And literally, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he had this image that flashed up on the screen that was a logo for his signature event called the Titan Summit. And because I was so impacted by Robin and his work, I quickly looked up the Titan Summit on my phone. I actually went out into the hall to be able to do so during one of the breaks. I looked it up and I saw that it was happening in just a few months and that it was going to be happening in Zurich, Switzerland. And because we were in London at the time, I was thinking, okay, great, that's just a quick flight. We can totally make that happen. And then I saw the price of the ticket. It was $7,500. And it was actually meant to be about 30 grand, but he had it discounted massively. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm being called to go to this event. I'm being called to experience what Robin is presenting me with. I can't say no to that. I need to step into this. And so I clicked yes, signed up on my phone there in the hall. I bought 1 ticket. I didn't even tell James about it until afterwards and asked him if he wanted to go too. So then we bought him a ticket. So we literally spent $15,000 that day to attend this live event. And we barely knew who Robin Sharma was, but we had this instinct that we were meant to be there. And when we attended, we were actually in the room with millionaires and billionaires, and we experienced our eyes opening up to what was possible. We experienced people running companies that were far greater than ours, and were reminded that, hey, if they did it, we could do it too. We saw triathletes. We saw, who was there? Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. All of these people we got to surround ourselves by that reminded us what was possible when you follow the vision and you put yourself in the room, whether it's the physical room or the metaphorical room. You get to decide. But I want you to support yourself in experiencing a shift in possibility. When you see all of our speakers on stage at I Heart My Life Live, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see people like Marla Mattinson, who started out as a high school math teacher, barely making $4,000 a month, now charging nearly $200,000 for her coaching program. You're going to see people like David Nagel, who was literally on food stamps, and he was embezzled for over $5 million at the height of a period of his career. You're going to hear his story and see how he bounced back from both of those things to create a multi-million-dollar business that is thriving, a podcast that is off the charts, and transformation for everyone he comes in contact with. You're going to see Dr. James Rouse, who is someone who was raised in an alcoholic family with an alcoholic father, someone who had dyslexia, was never meant to amount to anything, who was working at a truck stop in upstate New York. And he ultimately transformed his life, became a doctor, and now is the person he is today, which I can't even put words to because he's that spectacular, fabulous, every adjective you could possibly imagine, right? You're going to see him. You're going to see Trisha Brook, who was not meant to achieve anything, came from a small town, moved to New York City as a young girl, became a dancer, got into the world of acting and directing and producing, and now is up for an Oscar. You're going to see all of these examples of possibility, real people doing real things. And you don't get that sitting behind a screen. You don't get that sitting in the confines of your home. I want you to really understand and just envision what you putting yourself in the room surrounded by all those examples, true real life examples of possibility. Imagine what that's going to do for your own possibility barometer. That's going to take it up a notch. You're going to have so much more awareness of what's possible. And when we shift into possibility, that shifts into belief, which shifts into confidence, which opens doors. We take more chances. We experience opportunities. That's what happens when you get yourself in the room. Number 4, you feel less alone. That's what happens when you get yourself in the room. Right now, you might feel lonely. You might feel like, oh gosh, those 5 people I spend the most time with, I actually don't want to spend time with them anymore. They're not in service to the vision. And so what am I supposed to do? Can I fill those 5 spots? I got 5 spots on the friends roster. What can I do here? Right now, you might feel alone, even though you're on social media all the time. You're surrounded by millions of people. You have clients, you have team members, and yet you feel lonely because you're hungry for real connection. That's really what number 4 is about. Creating that real connection, that deep connection. At I Heart My Life, we don't do anything surface level. We go deep and we encourage you to do the same. And so if you are feeling lonely, even though you are surrounded by tons of people and you are craving that real life connection, this is the best place to do it. At live events, you know that literally we've brought together people who are like-minded. You don't have to go through and filter out all those people who might be unsupportive. We've literally curated a beautiful group for you to handpick from. Yes, you might not connect with every single person, but I guarantee you will find at least one new friend in that space, someone who you can connect with, build a relationship with, have commonalities with. And when you meet in person, it changes the game. We recently met one of our team members in person after working with her for a year and a half virtually, and it changed everything. There were things that we learned about her that she's excited about that we had no idea about until she told us, until we were sitting there across from her at the table at dinner. Think about what will happen when you get yourself in the room and you make those in-person connections and have the opportunity to go so much deeper. All right, that leads me to number 6. You'll open doors and build connections leading to more business. Okay, put it simple. People know people. And so one of the fastest ways for you to grow your business and your mission and have more impact is to build connections. People love to help one another. And so I guarantee that the people in the room at I Heart My Life Live are going to be people who will open doors for you. They have friends, they have connections who want the work that you're doing, who want to support your mission. They want you to be on the tip of their tongue when someone asks them, hey, do you know someone who's a health coach? Or do you know someone who can help me with SEO? Or I want to get on stages. Do you know a speaking coach? Or I need someone who makes planners. Can you help me find that person? Or I need a graphic designer. I need a website expert. Whoever it may be, they want your name on the tip of their tongue because people love to be helpful. They want to have recommendations. They want to have referrals. And so you need to get yourself out there and start networking, especially as the visionary. Your role in your company is to create, to deliver, potentially, unless you've outsourced that, to be the one bringing in the sales and to make those connections. That truly is your role in a nutshell. And so I want you to really ask yourself, are you building those connections, which will in turn lead to more impact and more business? I know I'm bringing up David Nagel a lot recently, but he said one of the main ways in which he grows his business is through connection. And he can see a tangible kind of shift downward when he's not out there making connections. And I know that this must be stressful for those of you who are scared of putting yourself in the room, scared of building those networks, and maybe you're an introvert like me. But I want you to really understand that it's time to move past that fear. And when your vision and when your desire is greater than the fear, it'll be easy to do. And we're not, at least not at I Heart My Life Live, I'm not going to encourage everyone to go and hug every person around the room. You're more than welcome to do that if you desire, but that's not going to be part of the exercise. So you don't have to worry about that. But just encourage yourself to meet one person, maybe 2, maybe 3. We're not asking you to network with the entire room here. And trust me, there will be a lot of introverts in the room. And so if you see somebody who isn't talking to anyone else, Go and walk up to them, start a conversation, get yourself out of your own way. I know that one of our panelists and one of the coaches at I Heart My Life, Emily Walker, she actually mentioned when I interviewed her that if you see her in the room and you don't have anyone to talk to, go up and talk to her. So I want to extend that invitation to you. So again, just know that it's time to focus on the vision. It's time to focus on what you want for your company and recognize that one of the ways that you can get that is through networking. I know that one of our other speakers, Marla Mattinson, she does the same thing. I mean, I see her all over social media, attending events all around the world. She must go to at least 3 or 4 a month. And yes, she is quite a social, confident person, but she wasn't always that way. And she wasn't always in the online space. She wasn't always an entrepreneur. In fact, after she was a school teacher, she was a doula. She's done tons of different things that ultimately led her to running her own business. But again, she puts herself in the room. She knows she still has things to learn. She knows there are amazing people out there to build those connections with, and she's used events to grow her company. She'll be the first person to tell you that marketing is not something that's always been her strong suit. In fact, her company was built on connections. That's how James and I found her. She was actually at one of the live events that I attended. It was the one in Miami back in the day when I literally first started my business. And later on, years later, when we were looking to bring a coach into our mastermind to support our clients with their relationships, I messaged Marla and just said to her, do you do this? Do you help clients? We're looking for somebody to support our clients with this work. And she said, yes. And she told me what she does. And I said, well, I think James and I need you. Ha ha. Not being serious, but also being serious. And she took that as her in, and she asked me more and asked me what we were looking for in terms of support. And we got on the phone and we ended up hiring her. So these are the opportunities that are available for you when people meet you in person. Think about the power that you have in person. And I don't mean that in a negative way or a weird way, but you are enchanting in person. You are someone that people are drawn to, and they're going to get to know you so much quicker, and they're going to remember you for a longer period of time when they meet you in person versus just Googling you or seeing you on your website for a split second or looking at your Instagram and then forgetting because they're inundated with tons of other posts. This is your chance to make a lasting impression, one that lasts far longer than just the live event. Got it? Cool. All right, the next thing that happens when you put yourself in the room is that you make more money. Now, this happens through those connections, of course, leading to more business. But what actually happens is that you also raise your vibration, which means you're putting yourself on a different level. Different level clients are attracted to you. You see different opportunities. You've poured into yourself, and so you're able to go further. The way in which James describes this, which I absolutely love, is the analogy of the car. So if you only put $5 worth of gas in a car, then we know that you're only going to go so far. Whereas if you prepare and you put $60 worth of gas, you fill up that tank, you're going to go so much further because you have the bandwidth, you have the capacity, you have the actual energy to be able to go further. And that's what happens when you put yourself in the room. Just like I said with my friends who told me my prices were too low, that helped me make more money. Just like working with coaches and being at live events where I saw other people charging $10,000, $20,000, $40,000, $60,000, $200,000. That helped me see what was possible. So I made more money. I raised my prices. I saw other people were doing it and I thought, well, why not me? I can do it too. So you make more money. One of the other reasons why this is so important is because the universe can see that you are ready for more. When you put yourself into the room, you put yourself into the game, you actually show up. The universe is like, okay, awesome. Well, this person is really showing up. Jane is really showing up. She must be serious about doing this business. It must no longer be that side hustle. It must not be this hobby, this expensive hobby. It's something that she sees herself actually doing long-term because she's investing. Right? So this is one of the universal laws. We get back what we put out. So when you're putting out, hey, I'm serious, I'm going to invest in this event, I'm going to go, I'm going to learn, I'm going to surround myself by these people doing big things, even if some days I can't even get out of bed, even if some days I feel like, you know what, I don't know if I can do this. Am I cut out for this? I don't know. Even if some days people are making fun of you, people in your family don't get it, you still get yourself in the room, and that shows your level of commitment to your vision and your dream. And that's worth something. That's worth its weight in gold. And then you're able to connect with all these beautiful people in the room, these amazing people who want to help you grow. And the more people you reach, right? This is the law of impact. The more people you reach, the more money you make. That's why Tony Robbins, as a teacher, makes far more money than, say, the high school teacher. He's able to reach far more people, the law of impact. Okay? So I hope you're seeing all the reasons why you're going to make more money. And then we're going to help you remove your money blocks. David Nagels, his whole presentation is about you unlocking the millions within. Right? We're going to teach you where you might have blind spots around finances, where you need to transform your money mindset, how to go to the next level financially, how to have sales conversations, how to stop saying I'd love to, but I can't afford it. And that starts with you putting yourself in the room, making that commitment, making that shift. It's a huge deal. Money is just energy, okay? So you're going to get back what you put out into the world. And guess what? You're going to be showing your clients, hey, I invest in myself. And if you're a coach or consultant, or even if you're not, they're going to be like, okay, well, Jane invests in herself. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to invest in Jane. I'm going to work with her. She's someone who clearly values herself and her company. And that tells me something. You have to ask yourself, are you attracted to those people who are literally just sitting behind the computer, not living their life? Or are you attracted to those people who attend live events, who do the work on themselves and their business? Doesn't that clearly show you that they value everything they're all about? They value their skills. They value what they know they're meant for in the world. And doesn't that make you want to invest in them? I hope so. All right, final thing that happens when you put yourself in the room is you have fun. And I added this one in here because I think it's so important. We've already mentioned multiple times on this episode that people are attracted to those people who are out there living. And I think oftentimes we get so obsessed with the next level. We get so obsessed with achievement. We get so obsessed with work and making things happen that we forget about having fun. And that's probably why we started our business in the first place. Fun, freedom, joy. And that's what we want to create at I Heart My Life. We want to support you in feeling joy, feeling happiness. And we have to remember that happiness is not necessarily something that's naturally occurring. It really has to be generated. And that's why I started I Heart My Life. It was all about supporting women and falling in love with themselves and their lives, because for so long I didn't love my life. Okay, there are days now where it's even challenging for me, and I now have the tools to shift into happiness, to shift into joy. And I would love to see all of us put more intention on having fun. And this is one of the ways to do this, to give yourself a few days to really go deep, but also to experience joy, to experience that feeling that comes when you're surrounded by other high vibrational people instead of the current social circle that you're surrounding yourself by. And think about what's going to happen when you are more fun, when you are experiencing happiness. Again, we get back what we put out into the world. When you are vibrating at a higher level, when you are on this different energy field, that's when you attract all the good things that you desire. Okay, so I want to see you in a space of 5-star luxury. I want to see you in a beautiful event room. I want to see you enjoying all of the food that we're providing for you that's completely complimentary. I want to see you having time for yourself, away from your husband, away from the kids, away from the spouse, away from the work, right? I want to see you turn off your phone and actually tune in to what it is that you desire for your life, and give yourself the chance to even explore what fun looks like to you. This event, at the time that I'm recording this training, is happening in January 2020. And so it's the perfect opportunity for you to tune in to what 2020 is about for you, a whole new decade. What does fun look like? What brings you joy? What do you desire for your life? What's on that list? Where do you want to travel? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to work with? What do you want to offer? What do you want to sell? What do you want to charge? All of that, you're going to get more clarity. But like I said, I want you to experience joy. And I think so often we hold ourselves back. I see this all the time. We think the hotel isn't possible for us. The trip isn't possible. The event isn't possible. I want you to shift into possibility and also shift into joy, and know that you are already that next level person who is deserving of fun, deserving of joy, deserving of happiness, deserving of wealth. And that's what this creates. So I hope that makes sense. I hope these 7 things that happen when you put yourself in the room resonate with you. Maybe there's one that stands out. If so, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to message me, let me know, follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, let me know which one resonates, and focus on that. Focus on that to encourage you to take that action, because nothing's going to happen if you only listen to this and don't actually attend the event. We want to see you there, and we want to see you there with bells on. We want to see your excitement. We want to see your smiling face, but we also want you to bring the true you. And if that means right now you're struggling, or things are really raw and real, or things are you're just in a place of lacking in clarity, that's okay. Just come as you are and know that this is a safe and supportive space for you to have the transformation that you are craving. That's one thing I know for sure. This event is going to be highly transformative. You will leave a completely different person. We hear that all the time from people who attend our events and come to our programs. I remember even in one of our coaching programs, one of the ladies said that she went into work and her team members asked her, "What in the world are you doing? You look 10 years younger." So I told her, just do our coaching programs. Forget the Botox, do our coaching programs. It's the same thing with this live event. So we want to see you there. Go to iHeartMyLifeLive.com, get your ticket. If you're listening to this recording after I Heart My Life Live, that's okay. This is something that we are intending to do year after year. So just check out our website, go to the website, get your ticket for whatever we have coming up, get yourself into one of our programs, because we know what happens when you make the decision to invest in yourself and your dreams. Okay. Especially when you put yourself in the room, put yourself in the environment that's literally set up to transform you into the next level version of yourself, which equates to you attracting the next level of everything you desire: wealth, clients, opportunities, you name it. It's all there for the taking. So I can't wait to see you at I Heart My Life Live. Let my team know if you have any questions at all by emailing info@iheartmylife.com. Talk to you soon. I hope you loved today's episode. I'm so excited to see you at I Heart My Life Live. So go to iHeartMyLifeLive.com and make sure you do some research about other events. It's so important to put yourself out there and connect with like-minded individuals, as well as raise the bar on your own education and awareness around success and going to that next level. I'm super excited to see how this shifts things for you, how this expands your awareness, how this creates more connection with some amazing individuals, and ultimately how this helps you transform into the person that you were born to be. Talk soon. Thank you for listening to the I Heart My Life show. For more inspiration, success tips, and ways to achieve your life and business goals, definitely follow me on Facebook and Instagram on I Heart My Life Now. See you next time.